Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this pandemic-induced version of the announcement of the 2022 season of the Bellingham Festival of Music. There are two aspects which were the driving forces behind the programming for this season. First was the aborted 250th birthday celebration, which we had planned for Beethoven in 2020. That had to be canceled for obvious reasons. And then also the other driving force is the performance of some of the signature works from my repertoire as a part of the celebration of my tenure as artistic director of the Bellingham Festival Orchestra for 29 years. We're opening with a program which could be called Triumph, or rather the other way around, Tragedy and Triumph. It seemed appropriate for what we've been through and where we're going. It opens with the Tragic Overture by Johannes Brahms. This piece was not written by Brahms as an overture to anything. It's simply a concert piece for orchestra. You could think of it in a way as a symphonic movement. And it was a companion piece to his famous Academic Festival Overture, which features the complete other side of the coin of human experience and emotion and expression. The Brahms Overture is followed by a performance of Max Bruch's wonderful Scottish Fantasy. Our violin soloist is Stefan Jakiv, and this wonderful piece really paints the picture of the country of Scotland and the pride of the people of Scotland. It's a very wonderful piece and features interesting orchestrational aspects such as duets between the solo violin and harp. And then after intermission, one of the iconic pieces of my repertoire, the Beethoven Symphony No. 7 in A major. This is probably my most often performed Beethoven symphony, and especially on the tours which we did for 10 years of Europe, when the producers were always clamoring for the Beethoven 7th Symphony. So we got a kind of a wonderful reputation performing that piece. The next program is built around one of my most favorite areas of the repertoire, music written for solo voice and orchestra. You know, in our country, when we think of solo voice and orchestra, we most frequently think of opera, or an evening of opera arias, or sacred choral works. But there is another part of the repertoire for voice and orchestra that's absolutely stunningly beautiful, and one that we don't know enough in our country. And that is art song written for voice and orchestra. And that's what is the driving force between this next program. Our soprano soloist is Maria Valdez, and it opens with Mozart's Magic Flute Overture. Of course, opera, but Mozart is special. And then comes a set of Lieder written by Richard Strauss, which Miss Valdez will sing for us. Strauss's wife, Pauline Anna, was a very famous soprano of the day, and he wrote many of these songs for her. And then the concert closes with the Symphony No. 4 by Gustav Mahler, another great song composer, another great composer of Lieder for voice with orchestra, and a great opera conductor, so he knew the voice extremely well. And now we enter the part of our programming that really comes from the aborted Beethoven Celebration. We're opening this next concert with the triple concerto, a concerto for piano, violin, and cello by Beethoven. Our soloists are Edith Kraft, the pianist, Richard Roberts, violin, and Stephen Thomas, cello. Beethoven was a great pianist, and he wrote many wonderful pieces for piano and for piano with orchestra. But this triple concerto is a very unusual work. I don't know of another like it. And it's quite wonderful the way Beethoven combines the aspect of chamber music with symphony orchestra. Following intermission, we close the concert with Franz Schubert's Symphony No. 9 in C major, one of the many number 9 symphonies where composers finish their career as composers and their lives. Dvorak, Bruckner, Beethoven himself, Mahler, were all composers who wrote 9 symphonies and quit. The 9th Symphony of Schubert was not fully premiered until 11 years after it was composed. It was just simply deemed too difficult. Mendelssohn, the composer Mendelssohn, finally took it on and conducted the world premiere in Leipzig in 1839. Robert Schumann, who was not only famous as a composer but also as a music journalist of the day, dubbed this symphony to be of heavenly length. Now, for the next program, we come to a festival within the festival. This is an unusual opportunity for us as performers and also for you, our audience, as listeners, to be live in attendance at 3 successive concerts in a row in which you will hear performed the complete concertos of Beethoven for piano. The first night, Concerto number 1 and 3. The second night, Concerto number 2 and 4. And in the third night, the First Symphony and the Concerto number 5, The Emperor. Our pianist for this is probably the greatest living pianist today for the music of Beethoven and all kinds of music. In fact, he was the winner many, many years ago, decades ago, of the Chopin competition in Warsaw. Garrick Olson has been a wonderful friend to the Bellingham Festival over all these years, and he and I began performing together in 1969 and have always been great professional and personal friends through the years and have many wonderful memories of many wonderful performances. Now we come to the final concert of the season, Beethoven's iconic Symphony No. 9 in D minor. I shrank back initially from scheduling this as my final concert as artistic director of the festival, because so many conductors do that. But after thinking of all the other possibilities, I kept coming back to the 9th Symphony because it is so iconic a work in the canon of symphonies and in Beethoven's canon, and also it has such a terrific message for humanity. The message of joy and love of life and humanity that comes from Schiller's Ode to Joy, which Beethoven had wanted to set to music for many, many years. It's interesting to note that after he had completed composition of the 9th Symphony, he seriously considered rewriting the last movement and doing away entirely with the choral ending. It was the first time a chorus had ever been used in a symphony, and a moment of uncertainty for Beethoven. It's interesting to note that, how happy and glad we all are that he left that final movement untouched. I love a wonderful spot in the last movement, which I find to be a great life lesson, in which Beethoven sets to an uplifting march for tenor solo, to the text, "Joy, joy, live your life, like the sun treading across the sky, like a hero going to victory." So that is our season for 2022, one to which I'm looking forward with great expectation and anticipation. We have also prepared a video that features highlights from this program, from this season, and we hope that you will enjoy that also. See you in July.